few very important guests and fellow activists. The main purpose of this very brief Facebook Live is to remind you all and to invite you all for a rally tomorrow. So we will be discussing details as to why we have taken to the streets once again, and one or two very serious incidents that have taken place recently. That's the main reason. So with me, I have from the Aotearoa Tongan Response Group, we have Manasi Lua. Welcome, Manasi. You are live with audiences, viewers now. Is Manasi there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, Pakilau here. Kia ora and malolelei viewers.
Thank you. Welcome. And we also have Sher Singh from Migrant Rights Network New Zealand. Welcome, Sher.
Hello, kia ora, sat sri akal. Thank you, Didi. Welcome.
Thank you. So I guess to kickstart today's brief discussion, just a few days back, we saw a horrific incident, which is now being called the New Dawn Raids. As you all know, there were the Dawn Raids against our Pacifica brothers and sisters back in the 1970s. And in 2021, the then Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern apologized for how we abused and mistreated our brothers and sisters back then. And even at that time, and leading up to that apology event, all of us and other fellow activists were saying that back up your apology with a meaningful, genuine action and provide pathways to residency, provide amnesty to all our overstayers. And then a few days back, we see another family, a father being raided around 5 a.m. in the morning in front of his young children and his wife. So I'm going to come over to you, Brother Manasi, and just talk about that incident and what kind of messages and signals it has sent throughout especially the community that brother is from.
Thank you, Anu, and appreciate the opportunity to join the live feed tonight. Yes, it was a horrific to hear, especially since the Dawn Raid apology in 2021. We thought that those days were over when our people were victimized. And again, it appears that they are targeting people of color, our people, Asians, Indian, Chinese, Pacific Islanders. And it's very sad in a country like Aotearoa to see that this is a practice that's still happening. For me, what's even sadder was that the children were there to observe their father being detained in the early hours of the morning and taken away. That will have traumatic impacts on their psychological well-being when they get older.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys organised a hui last Saturday where we were also invited, and thanks for that. And we had the Minister of Immigration there. We had the acting Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, Kamil Sepuloni, and we got another apology yet again, and I feel that it's not enough. People won't be pacified just with apologies. We won't just settle for that.
Absolutely, an apology is a good thing when it's sincere and backed with meaningful ways in which the community who were victimized or grieved can see that the apology was sincere and genuine. For this to happen again so soon after the Dawn Raid apology is so disappointing, and it disgusted many of us who were at the apology, because for one thing they made the apology under the assumption that our communities can then go on, move forward, and not fear this kind of thing happening. And it happened again, and it's unbelievable, and we were shocked. And all credit to the lawyer Soane Foliaki for bringing this to the attention of the media, and hence why we are still here talking about Dawn Raids. It's very sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we heard the lawyer last Saturday, and obviously, he comes across as a passionate person who genuinely wants to help. So what's happened in the last day or two is I believe that particular person who was raided has been given, I think, a 6-month work visa.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I guess and that would be as a result of all of us coming together and raising our voices against this outrage that's happened. So I guess that's not where it stops. So tomorrow we are again holding a rally outside the Minister of Immigration's office in Auckland in Mount Roskill, 973 Dominion Road, Mount Roskill. This is at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, if I know it's a Saturday and people always say, like, the office is closed and the minister's not there, but we have informed the minister's office. And if the minister was to show up there tomorrow while we are rallying out there, what would you like to say to the minister, and what would you like to see happen, and in what kind of time frame?
Well, if the minister were to be there, it would be along the similar vein from our previous meeting. Tomorrow is about reminding the government that we won't let this go. This is an important issue for the most vulnerable of our communities, and you can't get much more vulnerable than people who are non-entities, who are at the beckon and at the whim of the authorities. They live in fear. Their children are the most vulnerable as well, because at the end of the day, it wasn't their decision to be in the situation that they are in. But, we as a society have a responsibility to look after everyone in our borders. And, that's the message I would like to remind the minister, that actually this is something that our communities won't let go. We will keep maintaining pressure up to the election if we have to. This should not be an election deal where they say, vote for us and we'll grant you amnesty. No, we want action now. We don't want to wait for the election. It's now. We need changes and reform right now.
Absolutely spot on. And we are all there with all our overstaying brothers and sisters all the way. Just one other thing that I would like you to speak to. We always get these people. They are the minority. Largely, people here in Aotearoa are very supportive and friendly, and we live together as happy, diverse communities. But you do get the occasional person who is like, send them back home. They are unlawful. They are here illegally, and they are taking our opportunities, our houses, our jobs. And how do you respond gracefully to something like that?
Oh, look, you will always have those voices, and while we don't condone overstaying, it's something that happens. And look, people come to this country for a better life, and that's not a crime. The means and the way they get here may differ from how everyone else gets here, and I'm not going to put a judgment on that. But I think that those who say that they're a drain on society, that's wrong. These people don't qualify for benefits or the dole. They do not get any of the government supports and funding that's available for those who may be in need. They are very much vulnerable when they are here. So they've taken a huge risk, and at the end of the day, most of them, in order to survive, find a way to make some money. They work, and they do pay taxes. Every time we go and spend at the shop or buy petrol, we pay 15 cents in the dollar in GST. So they pay their way, and we've done the figures, and of the 14,000, every year they contribute roughly about $30 million into the tax base in GST alone. That's
staggering. And that's, and if they are documented and part of the formal economy, that figure would be much higher.
Absolutely.
Of course,
Absolutely.
And I also usually say to people that, we don't need to have divisions amongst workers, that's what unites us. We are all workers and we need to unite here. You need to identify who is at fault here, who the enemy is. It's the system, and it's the lack of investment into our infrastructure. Governments, previous and current one, they've decided to just ignore sort of investing into like state housing, for example, public housing and other public facilities. So it's not the migrants that people should be blaming. It's the governments who should be investing in all these things.
Absolutely, Anu, and we need more, because every sector is crying out for workers. And there's a steady flow out of New Zealand for people leaving for Australia. So why are we looking offshore for workers when there are workers already onshore that need to be accommodated in terms of housing, because they're already staying with family and relatives.
Yep.
They're already saving money while they're with those relatives, and if they were allowed to get their papers, their permanent residency, they can then work and perhaps afford to move to another spot, but then with the income support and help the families that they're with. And so to me, it doesn't make any sense that the system likes to keep and suppress these and vulnerable people as they are. And I'm suspicious that it's a way for us to keep cheap labor on shore. This is a very easy way of keeping cheap labor that get abused by unscrupulous employers.
Absolutely.
And also agents who abuse and also take money from these vulnerable people.
Absolutely, I agree with you there 100%. And like you said, we will keep raising this issue, and we'll make sure the government doesn't forget. I'm going to go move on to Sher Singh now from Migrant Rights Network New Zealand. Welcome, Sher. And I know you are also in contact with a lot of our overstayers. Have we got Sher with us? We might have lost him just for a little while. Okay. While we wait for Sher to rejoin us, I'll just remind everybody that we are holding a gathering, a peaceful rally outside the Minister of Immigration's office tomorrow. And that's Saturday, 13th of May, 1 p.m. Outside Michael Wood's office, which is at 973 Dominion Road, Mount Roskill, Auckland. So please join us, and it's a peaceful, family-friendly occasion. So bring your children, bring your friends. There is a car park at the behind the shop, so you've got plenty of parking. So we will gather outside, be on foot, and we all have a placard sign similar to the one behind me, but feel free to make your own signs if you want to, with your own message, and as long as we're all sort of respectful, no bad language. So that's the plan for tomorrow, and we've already sent a list of demands. There's not that many, there's about 3 demands to the Minister's office earlier today. So we are appealing to the Minister of Immigration regarding amnesty for overstayers. So we are asking give lawful status to overstayers, allowing them pathways to residency. And we're also asking, we had a hui about 3 weeks ago at Unite Union office, and people there also raised the question of, good that we make overstayers legal and we put them on a pathway to residency, but how do we prevent this happening in the future? Because it's people, no one chooses to become unlawful, and no one chooses to overstay in a country. It mostly has been happening as a result of immigration settings and policies that are very, very anti-migrant, I would say. So we are also calling upon the government to improve our immigration settings so that pathways to residency are more accessible to people who are even here lawfully, been here 10 years, 15 years, and they just keep going from one temporary visa to the next, and their lives are uncertain. It's not good to be living in uncertainty, and people can't buy a house, you can't plan family. There's all sorts of stuff people can't do that you and I might just take for granted, for example. And then the third demand that we have of the minister and the government is bring them back. So when COVID hit, our New Zealand migrants with valid visas who had taken a little break and stepped outside of New Zealand were not allowed to come back because the border was closed to everybody except New Zealand citizens and residents. So a lot of those people have returned since the border reopened, but we still have many people who have not been able to come back because their visas have expired in the waiting process. And while the government has extended some visas, just one category, I think it was the students who'd finished their qualifications and they were given 1 year post-study open work visa, other visa categories just remain stranded. So we're asking the government to bring those people back, extend their visas, and we're also bring them back. We are saying give pathways to residency, or give pathway to bring back migrants who were raided and deported. So not only the overstayers who are currently onshore, but people who have been raided and deported, we are asking the government to provide them a pathway so that they can also come back. I think we've lost Sher somehow.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay. All right. Welcome back, Sher. So I was just saying that you are in contact with a lot of those people who are stranded offshore still because their visas have expired and they didn't get the 1-year extension, and you're also in contact with a lot of overstayers. So what would you like to share specifically around, how do these people cope? How do they live?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing, and hats off to the Pacifica community because they have a very strong voice, and when something like the recent dawn raids happened, they speak up. But unfortunately, in our Indian community, there has been raids like this, but not dawn raids. I remember a few months ago, one migrant's house got raided with, I think, 20 police officers and immigration officers in Tauranga, but he was just so scared, and they didn't raise their voice. And so I can assure you there is many from our community, from the Indian community, where raids have happened, but they haven't spoken up about it.
Can I just quickly interrupt? And government's own statistics are, I think since July last year to present day, there have been 19 dawn raids, 19 outside our dawn raids. And out of the 19, 9 were people of Chinese origin or Asian origin, I think mainly Chinese, and 4 were Indian, I think, and then the rest were, I think, Tongan and possibly Samoan or 1 Indonesian. So, again, it's all people of color. So, sorry, continue, please.
I don't, what's the reason for an apology if they're going to continue doing these raids, if they're going to continue treating the migrant community like trash? It's not fair. It's not fair. Look, I've just those migrants who are stuck offshore, I've just I was on my way home. We're still trying to help them find jobs. It's just they've got their 1 year who have returned, but they're still struggling.
Yeah.
So it's just enough is enough for us. And even this accredited visa that the government, the immigration has proposed or given to our migrant community, that itself,
that's a joke. I think
it's a joke, and it's putting a lot of the migrant community in exploitation. Our demand was tie the visas. These guys are tying the visas to the and employees. It's making life hell for these
just
migrants.
Very quickly to explain for those who may not know, the accredited employer work visa came in July last year. So this was the government's silver bullet to stop exploitation of migrant workers on temporary visas. So the employer first has to apply for a registration accreditation with Immigration New Zealand. So, that box gets ticked, and then they have to get the job itself approved. That box is ticked, and then the migrant worker applies for the work visa. And when they get that visa, the worker can only work for that employer and in whatever location is specifically written on their visa. They can't go and work anywhere else. So that kind of gives the employer all the power in a relationship that is already, the boss has all the power, the worker has very little. So I know Cher has been we've been on a rescue mission for yesterday and today, where we've had to physically get a few of those workers who are being exploited, and they're being made to live in a garage that is next to the employer's house. So we don't want to be doing these rescue fetch missions to help workers. It would be better for the government to just not bond like slaves, not bond the workers to the bosses. Sorry, Cher, continue.
Labor, when they came in, they promised us that they wanted exploitation, they wanted tarnish exploitation, and our first submission was for these visas getting attached to employers, and then they introduced this. It's just enough is enough, and still those migrants who are stuck offshore, they've it's discrimination. Like some migrants have returned, some they haven't, and I think this is more than enough. They're just the employers are doing injustice to the migrant community, but I strongly believe that the New Zealand Corporation and the government is also doing injustice to these migrants, and it's just enough is enough. We want we want RB20 for all migrants. We want them to settle properly here in New Zealand and continue their lives. They have suffered more than enough.
Yeah, and like Manasi said, the aim appears to be just to keep cheap labour on shore, and once they've been totally drained and sucked dry, you just replace them with another set of. So, for example, the RSC visas are Pacifica workers who work in the orchards and the horticulture sector. That's what's happening to them. They can only stay on shore for so many months. After that, they must leave. And, they keep coming back and going back and forth. And how is that healthy for people to live without their partners, spouses and children,
Yeah, and on that point, Anu, there are major social impacts of that back home in Tonga. We've got issues with fathers coming here, leaving mum and the kids back home, and often some of them end up leaving their wife and their children and settling without the families here. So immigration needs to look at other options that maybe bring family over to support and be together. And perhaps look at other sectors that they may be able to support other than the horticulture industry. So there are other things like support work in the disability area. We need lots more workers in the carer industry, looking after elderly and the disabled.
Yeah. I mean, there are labour shortages across the board, I feel. I mean, in schools, we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough teacher aides, and healthcare, you already kind of mentioned, the aged care homes, and then our nurses and teachers keep leaving to go to Aussie. So obviously things are not as they should be here. Otherwise, why would people want to leave and then go to another country? So it seems very back to front, upside down, the whole system that we've got. Right. If there's any other points or things, reminders that I have forgotten or overlooked, both of you, please feel free to jump in and discuss, mention.
Yeah, I just want to add, we've been getting a lot of messages about those migrants who are onshore and missed RV21 because, they had to take on study due to COVID and all that. And there's been a lot of queries made, what about us? What about us? So now we're here, we want to start this campaign, and I'm honestly over the moon that, the Pacifica community has joined hands with us. I'm really happy that this movement finally, we're working collectively, which obviously we will definitely win good outcomes. But now is your opportunity to come out, be the voice, not only for yourself, for the other migrants, and just, we need to push this government and, amnesty for overstayers, R21 for all migrants.
Yeah, and just to follow up on your point, sure, absolutely 100% support your words. And I want to make a call to our Pacifica brothers and sisters who are listening to this broadcast. This is a long game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And we've been in the long game since way back. We did our petitions in 2020, 2021. We did a submission. We've gone through the process that government need us to go through. We've done all of that. Now it's their time to make a decision. So we can't take the foot off the accelerator. We need to put the pressure on, keep the pressure on. And that's what we're doing. Every week there's going to be something happening. We're not going to let off. And we can't let them make this politicize this to a political thing where they almost hijack this and ransom us for them in order to get the amnesty or pathway. No, they need to make a decision before the election.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
Good
Sure.
point.
Thank you, Manasi. And the people who've missed out from RV21, just to reiterate again, one of our demands is pathways to residency, change policy to allow accessible pathways to residency for migrant workers. That's the short demand. And in the I'm sure people have seen this press release that we put out. It's on our Facebook pages as well. Manasi and Sher have both shared it too. And the detail is the government must provide certainty and accessible pathways to residency for migrants who remain in New Zealand on temporary visas for significantly long periods. So we have covered you. Give RV21 to all. That's also a slogan, but the government has closed that visa category, so it's unlikely that they will reopen that. So we need to be asking for better pathways to residency. So however we frame it or word it, basically they need to include those who have been left out in some sort of residence program, people who've been here a long, long time. And we feel your pain. I'm just very quickly going to go through the comments here. And there's a lot of them. Raw Tyson, we're 100% sure Manasi government gives amnesty. Yep. If we keep the pressure on, like Manasi said, if we don't take our foot off the accelerator and don't take our eye off the target, yes, we will get there. We've had victories in the past. RV21 was a victory as a result of a lot of petitioning and a lot of protests and rallies and marches. So, yeah, it can happen again. But people need to come together for this. Hi there. What about as who they had not had R21? Yeah, I've already answered that question. This is a lot of the same. From business and innovation, sending deportation letters for overstayers. I don't know what they mean by that. Maybe they mean MBIE sending deportation letters. Yeah, that's their procedure. That's their job. That's what they do. But we are making a request to the government that it needs to stop. Thank you, guys. Migrants stuck offshore still suffer without any fault of them. Mandeep, yeah, we are asking for you guys to be brought back, to bring them back. So, as well as people who've been raided and deported, bring them back too. So, those are the demands. I think we'll probably wrap up, unless you've got any final words. Yeah, sure. I just want
to add one more thing. I just before this meeting, I was talking to a migrant who has just come back offshore, who was stuck offshore. That look, there's a lot of people out there that try breaking the movement. I'm just requesting everyone that do not. This is for you. This is in favor of you. We are coming together once again, and we would need everybody on board and just hands on deck, and we need to fight this fight together.
Yeah. So this time, actually, it's not just it's like a larger community, different diverse communities are coming together. So there's Manasi's organisation, the Aotearoa Tongan Response Group. And last Saturday, we saw so many different ethnicities and nationalities at that meeting. We had Chinese people, we had Tongans, Samoans, we had Indians, we had Sri Lankans. We had a very diverse group. So it's good to see that different people's communities are coming together now. So that should also be an indication for the government that they need to take some serious action here. Like Manasi said, good to have the apologies. That's a good start. But yeah, the apology is not genuine until there is some action. So what we are doing now, it's a call to action. The government needs to put action behind their words, and it needs to happen ASAP. I know the minister keeps saying that he is taking advice from officials around amnesty. So I was actually thinking last Saturday, after the apology, the minister did say that today I can't kind of say whatever his words were, that he wasn't offering an amnesty, but the least they could have said was that, okay, we haven't nutted out the details. We don't have the nuts and bolts, but we will do an amnesty. What it will look like, we will announce very soon in due course after we've had advice from officials. So, even if they can say that would reassure a lot of people that something positive is on its way. So I don't know how much longer we have to wait for this. It's quite crazy.
I absolutely agree, Anu, and like my brother Shu said, this is our moment and our time to stand together as communities. We're all migrants to Aotearoa, end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what holds us together. We all came here for the same reason, to build a better life and to help build this nation. You know, New Zealand is a mass in terms of land mass, you know, compared to our little tiny islands. And there's so much potential in Aotearoa. We need people here, you know. So I don't know what the problem is with immigration, not allowing people that have that intention to build this country to come here and work hard, because our people work hard.
Yeah.
We help build this country
definitely.
since way back. We are the ones who clean. We are the ones who stack the shelves. We are the ones that do the security. All the work that no one else wants to do. It's our migrants that do that. And the economy would grind to a halt if those jobs weren't done. So I stand in solidarity with all of my Asian and Chinese brothers. We'll certainly call our troops together to come tomorrow, and we will stand together at the minister's office. And it's about that we are acting and doing stuff peacefully, of course, so that the government, we're just all talk. We're action. They're the ones who do a lot of talking and no action.
Exactly.
Very well said. Very well said.
Right. Right. Thank you, Cher. Thank you, Manasi.
Thank you.
See you both tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yep, 1 p.m.
See you tomorrow.
See you.
1
Thank
PM,
you.
yes.
Thank you. And just to remind the viewers and listeners again that there's a peaceful demonstration outside Michael Wood, the Immigration Minister's office, tomorrow, Saturday, 13th of May, 1 p.m. outside 973 Dominion Road, Mount Roskill in Auckland. See you all in large numbers. Yeah, we have to make ourselves seen and we have to make ourselves heard. That is the only way we will get change. Let's become the change that we want to be, and let's see you all tomorrow. Good night.